Hey everyone, and welcome to CSCI 145. My name's Corey Nance, and I'll be your instructor this semester. I wanted to create this video so that I could introduce myself as well as the course, go over the course syllabus, talk a little bit about the due dates for the various assignments, familiarize you with Moodle, and briefly talk about the textbook that we're going to be using. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to look at is the course syllabus, located right here at the top of our course underneath the Getting Started section. So on the first page of the course syllabus is just basic information. We have our course name, section, academic term, the prerequisites, which are a grade of C or better in CSCI 140 or 135. We have my contact information, so my name, email, phone number, Slack, and office location. Email is probably my preferred method of communication. Second to that, you can give me a call here at the office. Feel free to leave a voicemail. That voicemail will be sent to my email immediately, so I'll be able to get that even if I'm not in the office. Slack is a chat application, and there's essentially chat rooms in there. I create a chat room for each one of my classes for the students to use and collaborate, talk about the material and stuff like that. So I highly encourage you to sign up for that, get in there. You can also reach out to me on there, and I stay logged in pretty much all the time, so I can find or I will see your notification if you send me one. My office location is in the AOC 2 building, so Academic Office and Classroom 2, located between the Wall building and the Science Annex 2 in room 237. My office hours this semester are Tuesday and Thursday 9:30 a.m. to noon and Wednesday 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Additionally, I'm also available by appointment, and that counts both physically and virtually. So let's say you are a distance learning student and you're actually not anywhere near campus. I can still have a virtual meeting with you. Be more than happy to do a Skype session or Google Hangouts or whatever the application of the day is that's allowing us to communicate. The textbook for this course is required. It is not a traditional textbook, it's more of an interactive ebook. It's by a company called Zybooks and it's programming in Python 3. Now, if you have already purchased this book for 135, there's no need to repurchase because it would actually be the exact same thing. You'll notice that the book code here is Coastal CSCI 135 Nance Fall 2017. When you go to zybooks.com and sign up, you just enter that code and click subscribe, and that'll get you added to our class. Now, the bookstore should have access codes in case you need to go that route. I'm not sure if their price differs from Zybooks at all. I know in the past or historically, I think sometimes it's cheaper if you go through the Zybook instead of through the bookstore, but I understand that there are various reasons that students prefer to go through the bookstore. So take whichever method you'd like. If you're repeating this course and you've used the Zybook in a previous iteration of the course, I believe that they either allow you to get access again for free or at a discounted rate. So whatever your situation may be, you can email support@zybooks.com and try to work that out with them. Technology requirements, basically just a computer that's capable of running Python 3. Python runs on all major operating systems, so Mac, Windows, Linux, any of those would be acceptable. Basically anything other than a Chromebook or a tablet. That's not to say that you can't run Python on those, it's just you may have difficulties at times and it would be much better if you had a laptop. You also need a high-speed internet connection. I make heavy use of lecture videos in the course. In addition to the lecture videos, we'll also be doing readings and assignments. The final exam for this course will be due December 13th by 11:59 p.m. based in our time zone. So we're in the Eastern time zone. So again, if you're a distance learning student and you're not actually physically located anywhere near campus, maybe you're in a different time zone, just keep in mind what time zone we're in, and that's when the due dates will be. Okay, so what is this course all about? Well, this course continues the study of programming in a dynamically typed language. So it builds off of what we did in 135. If you're coming in from 140, you should have the same concepts that we learned in 135, and the first week of class is dedicated to a review. So that's designed to give you a chance to catch up with the syntax of Python and see how what you used to do in Java relates to how you do it in Python. So some topics are going to include object-oriented development, user-defined data types, debugging, testing, and elementary distributed computing. The course objectives are to utilize code modules and objects to implement a computer program, demonstrate an understanding of the use of various data structures, including lists and dictionaries, demonstrate an ability to implement a user-defined data type, and utilize common Python modules. Now, each of these course objectives map to a student learning outcome, and these student learning outcomes are prescribed to us by our department accrediting agency, or the accrediting agency that accredits our department's program, ABET. So that is an accreditation that our department has in addition to the university's accreditation that says that it's basically a valid education. There's regional accrediting bodies that accredit universities, and then optionally, programs can take that a step further to certify the content that they are teaching. Now, currently, the Department of Computing Sciences, Computer Science, and Information Systems are accredited by ABET. And the IT program is still relatively new. It started in 2014, and it needs to run for 6 years before it goes up for accreditation. So our goal is to have ABET come in 2020 and accredit our IT program as well. And in preparation for that, we're going ahead and listing out our student learning outcomes and mapping those to course objectives. So that's the whole purpose of these SLOs and this matrix down here at the bottom. I do reserve the right to make changes to the syllabus, and if I do need to make changes, I'll be sure to notify you either via email or perhaps a news forum post in Moodle, which gets sent to your email anyways. Um, that any changes will be reflected right here in this Google document immediately, so you'll be able to go and see what changes I made. I'll obviously spell it out what got changed in the email, and then you'll see it reflected here. Although I don't anticipate making any changes. So, all right, communication. So email again is probably the best form of communication. If you send me an email, please be sure in the subject line to put at least the course and course number. You don't necessarily have to put the section. And then also be sure to use proper citation, spell check, make sure you don't have any spelling or grammatical errors. If you decide to call my office phone, that's fine as well. Any of those voicemails get put into a WAV file that's attached to an email, and I'll be able to get that wherever I'm at, and I'll be sure to respond as soon as possible. The grading for this course is broken down into categories, so there's 4 different categories. The top one, the one that's weighted the most at 35%, is programming assignments. So we're going to have 3 major programming assignments throughout the semester, and then we'll have some smaller programming assignments in the way of labs that'll be due weekly. And if we have any quizzes, they'll also fall in the same category of 25%. At the end of the semester, we'll have a final exam, and that final exam will count for 30% of your grade. And then lastly, with each module, we're going to have some homework, and that homework will count for 10%. All right, the grading scale is very standard for the university. It's a 10-point grading scale, so 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B. And if you're in the upper ranges, or the upper bounds of those ranges, like 87 to 89 and 77 to 79 and so on, I do award B pluses, C pluses, and D pluses. Okay, feedback. So what can you expect from me? All assignments will be graded within 5 business days of the due date and returned in Moodle. Uh, Technically, most of our stuff is going to be graded in the Zybook, and you'll see that when we go over how the Zybook works and you start getting in there and working on labs and stuff. So you get feedback pretty quickly, almost instantaneously. If you don't understand the feedback, please feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to help you decipher what that feedback means, as well as go over the solution after something is due. Emails will be answered by the end of the next business day. So if for some reason you don't receive a response within 24 hours or a business day, um, go ahead and just resend your message. Every once in a while, I'll be out and I'll check a message on my phone and make a mental note to respond, and something will come up and I will just forget. I apologize in advance if that happens, and it doesn't happen often. So for the most part, you can expect it within a business day, but if not, just forward it to me one more time. And if any changes need to be made, I'll be sure to notify you guys in advance. Instructional activities. So we're going to have readings out of the book, as well as lectures, which will be pre-recorded videos uploaded to YouTube. And then for assessments, we're going to have the labs and quizzes, programming assignments. This should not be there because we're not going to have a midterm this semester. We're going to have a final exam and homework. So basically those categories from above. Due dates. So assignments are going to be due by 11:59 p.m. of the Moodle server time. So keep in mind that the Moodle server is located here on campus in the Eastern time zone. So if you're in a different time zone, you're just going to have to make sure that you account for that and that you're submitting things by our time here at the university. Late assignments will not be accepted, so it's your responsibility to submit any work prior to the due date. That includes technical difficulties or any other problems that may arise. Don't wait till the last minute to start an assignment, because Murphy's Law, things can go wrong. If you're having trouble with the course assignments, please contact me early on. Come in and get help. We have a tutoring lounge here at the university that you can take advantage of, and now we do have a tutor that can tutor for 135 and 145, so please be sure to take advantage of that if you need it. Attendance. So what's really important here for us is this top part. A distance learning course, an absence is operationally defined as a missed online submission deadline, such as a quiz, assignment, or discussion post. For an in-person course, it's based on the scheduled meetings. And the other part that is relevant to us is down here. If you miss more than 25% of the regularly scheduled class meetings or 25% of the assignments for a distance learning course, you can receive a grade of F. All right, so make sure that you're staying on top of assignments, that you're doing them, that you're coming in and getting help when you need it. Any sort of makeups for missed exams or assignments will not be allowed without prior approval. So make sure that if you know that something's going on, that you let me know ahead of time so that we can work something out. For the most part, I don't think that that's going to be an issue here with the distance learning course, because even with the final exam, you're going to have a couple of days to work on that, so it won't be like you've only got one time to do it. Classroom code of conduct. This really gets grouped with the online code of conduct, and still want for you to read through everything, obviously, in the syllabus, but what this boils down to is just respect others, respect me, respect others. Be sure not to overuse any sort of text speak as we're doing any discussion post. Now, in the Slack chat, I don't mind if you use the text speak a little bit. I still want for you to be respectful of everyone. But I do realize that sometimes an LOL on the end of something does help to convey the meaning or the tone of a message that can sometimes otherwise get lost in an online conversation. Academic integrity. So all the work done in this class is expected to be completed individually, which means you should not be working together on the assignments. If I determine that you either cheated or plagiarized, then the result of that will be a grade of FX in the course. And there's a whole policy that goes with that. If I suspect you of cheating, we basically start an academic integrity process where I send something to the academic integrity officer. You and I sit down and have an informal hearing where I lay out the evidence, and from that, in your response, come up with a determination. Afterwards, you had the right to appeal any decision that I make, and there's a committee that meets and we'll go through the appeal and all of that. And hopefully, we can just avoid any of those sort of situations this semester. So make sure any of the work that you're submitting is your own, that you're not getting it off the internet or from a friend or some other source. I'd encourage you to read through the Student Code of Conduct and these excerpts that I have down here that deal with what is plagiarism, what is cheating, what are your rights as far as that academic integrity process. Disability accommodations. So if you have a documented disability, please get in with our Office of Disability Services. They will document that there and give you a form to bring to me that I'll sign, and that form will have recommendations or different sort of accommodations that I can make for you. Up until that point, I can't make any accommodations. So if you do have a disability, please get that in there so that we can make whatever accommodations need to be made. And then lastly here, I have some links that just link out to some important services here at the school. Distance learning support services, especially if this is your first DL course, highly recommend you get in there and read through that. Learning Assistance Center, there's some technical help here if you need that, like tech support from Student Computing Services, counseling services, the registrar, FinAid, the Office of Academic Integrity, Disability Services, and so on. All right, so that's our course syllabus. The next thing I want to look at is, Next thing I want to look at here is the tentative schedule. So this is how I anticipate this semester going, barring any sort of unexpected events. So each one of these rows is a week in the course. You'll see that we are meeting for 8 weeks. We'll start off with Module 0, which is just a review, and then we have the major assignments that are due for that week. So we're covering Module 0 in week 1, and we're going to do our Python setup and our class introductions, as well as our Python practice lab in this first week. In the next week, we'll move into a new module and we'll have homework and labs due. So that's going to be typical for every week that we work out of the book. We'll have homework and labs, and we'll take a look at what those look like here in a minute. And then some weeks, like on week 3, we'll also have a program assignment due. Now that program assignment will come out of the previous chapter. So it's going to be based on content that we learned in Module 1, and you're free to work on Program 1 from that time all the way up to the end of, or the due date for these assignments. Okay, so you'll see that that's a common theme, homework and labs. Homework, there's actually no labs with our modules module, but there is a Program 2 that's due. We'll go into Thanksgiving break. We'll come back, we'll talk about file I/O, do some homework and labs. Then we'll talk about exceptions, and we'll wrap up with homework, labs, and Program 3. And then at the very end, during final exam week, our exam will be due on 12/13, so we'll just have that due right before midnight, so 11:59 p.m. At the bottom of this document, I have some important dates listed. If you're going to drop this course with no academic record, so no W, no grade or anything, it'll be like you never took the course. You'll need to drop by 10/20. If you get in the course and things are not going well, You can drop with a grade of W by November 13th, and then obviously our final exam will be December 13th. Okay, so next I just want to walk you through real quick how things are laid out in Moodle. A lot of our assignments exist in the Zybook, so again, it's very important that you get that book. Make sure that you get it and have it during week one. Let's take a look at, we saw how each one of these modules will be covering in a week. So our first week we're going to be doing module 0. And my modules are all laid out the same way. At the very top you'll have some module learning outcomes. Read through these because these are sort of what I'm expecting you to get out of the module. Then you'll have a watch section that'll contain one or more videos that you'll need to watch for the week. And then you'll have a read section. Lots of times the read section might just be the lecture slides that were used within the video. I do assume that you are doing the reading out of the textbook, so I don't explicitly state that here, but just realize that whatever, like when we go into this module, list and dictionaries, that when you click on the homework that you're doing the reading in that chapter. We'll come back and look at this. So for this first week, what I want for you to do is complete the class introductions and our Python practice lab. Both of these will be due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday, October 20th. And after I get done making this video, I'll get in there and I'll put a little notation down here to show that due date. So again, the whole purpose of Module 0 and Week 1 in this course is to familiarize you with the Python language, review anything if you're coming out of 135, and to draw parallels to the different control structures out of Java into Python if you're coming out of 140. And that's the whole purpose of this Python practice lab. So what I want for you to do is obviously go through installing Python. This makes sure that you get the correct version and you get it installed. Watch this Introduction to Python and the Idle IDE video. This gets you familiar with how to use Idle, which is our integrated development environment that we can write our scripts in. Then watch the lecture video, which corresponds to the lecture slides. So this just goes over a brief review, a real high level, kind of quick refresher on some basic concepts. And then we have our Python practice lab. I did a video for that to sort of introduce you to what I'm expecting here for this assignment. So these are the two deliverables that we'll be due in week 1. Moving into week 2, this is what a typical week will look like. I need to upload the lecture slides here, so I'll get them put in under read. And then you can click on these links to go directly to the Zybook. So let's talk about the Zybook for a second. If you're not familiar with it and you've never had a class with it before, it's an interactive ebook. And when you click these links, it takes you directly to the chapter that we're in or the assignment that I want for you to do. So you'll notice that I clicked on Module 1 Homework. What the homework is as you scroll down through here, you'll see participation activities, and sometimes you'll also see challenge activities like this. So a challenge activity is in blue, and a participation activity is in orange. And as you're going through the chapter, I want for you to complete these participation activities, and the intended path through the book is once you finish the chapter, then you can come back and do these challenge activities. Now, if you'd like, you can do them all at the same time. I don't think that really matters too much. As far as your homework grade, what's going to happen is your average between the participation activities and the challenge activities will get averaged together, and that grade will ultimately get recorded in the gradebook. Now, I do give some flexibility here because it is homework, in that if you score an 80% or higher, so a B or higher between these two assignments, the average between the two, I'll record a 100 in the gradebook, And if you score less than an 80, I'm just going to record whatever grade it was that you scored. And what that incentivizes is not trying to brute force the answer, because you'll see that some of these are just multiple choice. So I want for you to actually read, understand, and try to apply some of the things that you're learning as you go through this, and not just trying to quickly get the correct answer. And it also gives you a little bit of leniency so that you can get things wrong but still get a 100. Now, with that said, one of the things I want to point out is with participation activities, the first time that you answer it, if you get it wrong, it does not count against you at all. After you have answered something twice and you still get it wrong, then it starts counting against you. Uh, and with the challenge activities from your first submission, if you get it wrong, that counts against you. So one of the things you may want to do is copy this code and work on it inside idle, the IDE, and when you feel like it's correct, then paste it back in and run it. In practice, I've ran this class multiple semesters now using the Zybook, and I haven't really had any problems with the homework assignments, and students that are genuinely going through and doing the assignments do typically always get a 100. All right, so that's pretty much the homework, and this is just one section out of the chapter. So the homework comes from the whole chapter. We can see that down at the bottom, we can move to the next section, or you can click the little hamburger over here and you can see all of the sections that are in this chapter. Okay, so it may look like a lot, but when we get down into some of these sections like list games, that's really all it is. It's just a participation activity. So most of these are no more than just a page or so out of a textbook. So even though it looks like it's a lot of things, there's 17 things here. In reality, it's really not that bad. Okay. The other thing is our labs, and this really just takes you directly to the lab portion of the chapter. Okay. So you'll see that we are in 7.16, the lab people's weight. And for the labs, there'll either be one or multiple labs going on each for each module. In this case, there's only one, but if there was two or three, your score from all of those labs would be averaged together and recorded as your lab grade for that module. Now, one thing that I think is really neat about the Zybook is when you're working on the labs, you can submit them down here, and there's a couple different ways that the labs can be configured. One way is like this, where you just copy and paste your code into this text box. You go to submit and you submit it, and it'll go ahead and grade it immediately. Now, what I like about this is my policy is to allow you to submit as many times as you would like up until the due date. And basically my workflow is I come in and I run a report as of the due date at the due time, and I see what your highest score was then. And that's what actually gets used to calculate your lab grade. All right, so don't be afraid to submit and see what you're doing wrong. I have a separate video that goes through talking about how to understand how the labs work and everything, and we'll get into that in week 2 when we get into the Zybook. But don't be afraid to come in here and see what's wrong and what you can address and fix, and then come back and resubmit again. And then as a reminder, programs are assigned in one chapter, but they're not due until the next week. So for instance, you'll see program 1 is assigned in this list and dictionaries chapter, which corresponds to module 1, but it's not actually due until this week, so week 3. So that's when we'll turn in program 1 here. Alright, so the last thing I want to point out is this grading information up here. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about how I'm going to calculate the grades for homework, how I'm going to calculate the grades for labs, and how the grade for a program assignment is calculated. Alright, so that's it for this video. Welcome to the course. I'm glad to have everyone here and excited to be offering another section of CSCI 145. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. If not, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you.